Other than losing your villagers to boar, how do you spend the first 4 minutes of the game? Let's talk about early scouting in Age of Empires 2. You go through your build order and you run your scout in circles. But why? What are you looking for? Most of us generally look for the obvious. Sheep, boar, and a woodline. But what else should you be thinking about when scouting the area around your base? Let's go through some gameplay examples and, based on what we find, talk about what we should be thinking about as we explore the map. A scouting checklist is provided in the description below. If you want more content like this, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what you'd like to see. I'm going to leave the game on in view lock mode, so basically we'll see where my camera moves, we'll get a sense of what I'm focused on at any given point in time, and I will gesture as I need to. So right off the top, moving the scout around, something maybe worth noting is that Eagle Warriors actually see farther than Scout Cavalry, so it's a nice wide range we can see. So we have berries. Let's talk about what we've found so far. We see this is probably a bigger wood line, we just can't see the rest of it, and we saw one up here as well. Believe there's a main gold right here. Notice that my opponents are going to be on that side though, so this is not a nice spot for a main gold. Obviously, we'll make it work, but it's worth noting that you may have to fight over that spot or be prepared to leave it for a secondary gold position. I found a boar here, just found another boar over here, and I'm taking the safer of the two wood lines. Found a couple cows. Something to note for beginners that don't know, cows provide, I believe, 150 food. Might have that wrong, but one way or another, more food than sheep. And so you should only expect to find 3 cows rather than 4, right? So generally you start with 4 sheep, goats, whatever, and you find some number of extra animals, and that's basically 3 or 4. I'm going to speed it up slightly here. I'm gathering the boar. So we've still only really found 2 wood lines. My scout stops for a minute here, so I'm going to keep it sped up. Keep your scout moving. On the other hand, don't lose villagers to boar. So prioritize as you need to. I am queuing up a series of commands using shift-click. I recommend doing this for scouting. That being said, you need to make sure you actually look at what you reveal. So in this case, if I look at my mini-map, there is actually a wood line here that I'm finding. Now, it's not too close to me, but it's still good to know. Sheep are kind of obvious, right? It gives you a notification, it gives you a sound, you can hop right to them, just like that. You'll see I'll go over and I'll grab those sheep, in this case, a single cow, when I have a chance. Remember, this is a bit of a checklist. So that's the last cow. Now I know I'm done for that, right? Your scout really only needs to go until you have the information you need, such that you can now go and scout your opponent with confidence. So at this point, I can probably actually turn my scout around and go to my opponent, and you see I do that right there. He starts going the other way. So we can pause that around here. Do you think this is a good map setup, right? What are the pros and cons here? We really found only 2 close wood lines, being this one and the one down here. Neither of these are what I'd really call back wood lines. This one isn't too bad, which is why I picked it. And you can see I'm starting what will become a wall along this route, which will at least keep these villagers reasonably safe. Front gold, as I already mentioned, not great. And I do need to be prepared to move to the other wood line. Worth noting is those 3 resources back here. We have the stone and we have the 2 secondary golds. This map is baiting my opponent to sit on this gold, and when they know that I don't have gold, well, the other golds are really far away, and I will have to go to them, or I'll have to fight for the spot. Do you want to be aggressive in the game? So with a map, I would view this map as actually a pretty bad setup. So yeah, I probably want to get units out pretty quickly, get on the attack, and that should at least give me more time to wall. Let's jump into the next game. We are in the next game. I am playing as the Mongols. I have a regular old scout cavalry with, actually not with regular line of sight. The Mongols get a bonus to that. So you'll see it's actually still pretty big, still maybe comparable to the Eagle Warrior line of sight. So we look around. I am doing some goat scouting, sheep scouting here. Don't feel that if you don't have the actions per minute, the APM to do this, that it's going to hamstring you. It won't. If you do, it will save you some time, right? Your scout can do wider circles, which can be helpful. Already see an ostrich up here. Stone is here. Berries are back here. And I believe you can see on the mini-map there's some wood up here. But I don't think I have a wood line yet that I like. Ideally, we find one in the back. And it is not locking to my view, is it? There it goes. Okay, so we can now see that there's a nice wood line here. This is a nice back wood line, and there's also a large gold. So if we're thinking of things, think of places that would be nasty for your opponent to sit on. That is one of them. That is therefore a decent candidate for a tower if it comes to it later in the game. Hopefully I don't have to throw one up preemptively, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if I did. We find the sheep. I think I see, yeah, I see 2 stones, which is good. Both secondary golds we'll see are up here, right? So you can see on the mini-map this way. If my opponent is over here, and there's probably something like, there might be one over there, that these are really bad spots for secondary gold. So at least there is a nice gold behind me, but worth noting that I may have to put a castle between those golds, or, you know, push past them such that I can grab them. So going to berries here. Keep going around with our scout. Do find some gold here, but it's probably actually my teammates. So at this point, do we have... I think we have all the animals. The scout can probably actually move on, right? So you need to make that decision. When am I done scouting my area? Do I have the information I need? And can I start scouting my opponent? I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. I am sort of looping around to my opponent. Hopefully, again, I don't know that my opponent is here, but at least... I will follow that route and go find them. I could have possibly just turned back here as well and gone. And we see another decent wood line here, which could possibly be used. So it looks like my scout is going to go off and look for an opponent. So scout moving along, pausing. What did my scout just find? I actually found an opponent. I will talk about this more in a later video, but if you see a big gold patch like this on the minimap, or actually watching your scout, you know your opponent has to be there, right? Remember, we all get a main gold. My main gold was just back here, those 7 pieces. So if you see a main gold elsewhere, that means an opponent is there. So what does that tell us? That tells us that these 2 gold points are almost certainly going to be important and fought over this game. It tells us that I'm probably not going to be using this wood line so much, and at least this wood line is closer to my teammate, so I'm a little more likely to be using that one. In terms of walling, I don't think this is a particularly easy front to wall, but you can always wall in pieces, drive them closer to your town center, such that if they did want to get past you, they would have to run past the potentially garrisoned town center. Great, let's move to the next replay. Here we go. This is the last replay I had in mind to watch. We'll get the view lock working properly this time. Take a look at where our teammate is, right, where the opponents might be. This is an okay gold spot. It's pretty close. It's not behind, but at least it's not in front of my base. So main golds, check, in a good spot. We see a stone, that's good. I don't know if I've seen a boar yet. Secondary gold in front of my base, less good. And boom, right there, we just found both the rhino and the elephant, the equivalent of the boar. So we can check that off as being found. And you'll see I'm doing some sheep scouting as well. This is probably the wood line I'm going to use, if I had to guess. This one's too far forward, and actually we can see it's a nice wide wood line, so a little more easy to defend. I often like running behind. I don't know just the way it worked out this time, but you get a lot more scouting done if you go behind your tree lines. And again, if you do have the APM to scout with your sheep, then it's easy to scout those sort of missing patches closer to the base. Like I could easily take, if there wasn't one hiding behind this tree that I couldn't find, I remember being confused about this, I could easily take it and just walk through those black patches up here. We see secondary gold up here, another secondary gold just on the edge of my vision over here, which means that that's pretty far out. That's not too likely that I'm going to get to that anytime soon. So it looks like there's a decent back wood line here, although with its shape, it's going to be a little bit difficult to use. It's a little far away from my town center. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Actually, before I do, we're thinking about, what do we see here, right? Main gold, easiest wood line for me to get to. If I have to defend something, that's probably going to be what it is, right? Town centers can generally take care of themselves up to the castle age at least. So something like a tower, you know, here wouldn't be so crazy if it comes to it. And I think I start having some issues here. I want to wall this off, ran out of wood with housing, and walking around too much, not harvesting resources. So I think I end up having some problems there. So find another wood line up front. That is great. At this stage, I pretty much have the information I need. We do need to make that judgment, though. Is this a good map? Is this easily wallable? Should I be aggressive? In this case, it seems pretty okay to me, right? There's a decent wood line here. If I really need to, I could flee to this back wood line, which would still be pretty far from my opponents, so it would be probably hard to follow up with when raiding. In terms of making a full wall around my base, that might be a little bit difficult, but there's clearly solutions where I could kind of wall, you know, along here maybe, up to the mill, and this is getting a little janky, so let's slow that down. Could wall up to the mill. Probably want to grab at least one secondary gold and then wall maybe to that tree line. And I've already walled this off with houses plus stone. In summary, you should be looking for more than just sheep and boar. Look for ways to easily wall. Find problem areas and be ready to deal with them. Make a judgment call about whether you're going to be forced to play aggressively. And lastly, don't spend too long scouting your own area. Go scout your opponent once you've learned what you need. For our arena players, never change. This has been Paragon RG. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. See you next time.